had a very, very good week. This week we have a double parsha, Parshas Tazriah Metzorah, and it is well known that the Chazal understood, based on many, many diukim in the psukim, that the disease, shall we say, and the tumah of Metzorah has to do with Averis, Metzorah, Motzi Shemra, Lashon Hara. Person has improper speech, and indeed Rashi, right in the beginning of Parshas Metzorah, teaches us that one of the karbanos that the Metzorah has to bring, he has to bring Shnei Tziporim. Why does he bring Shnei Tziporim? Rashi says, Lafisha Hanagoim Boam Lashon Hara, because Nagoim come upon a person because of Lashon Hara, Shumaisa Pitputei Dvarim, because it's a matter of like idle chatter. That's the best word, Pitputei Dvarim Lafichach, and therefore the Tahara is Tziporim, is birds, Shemitfatfitim Tamid B'tzivtzuv Kol, because they're always chattering, they're always chirping. In other words, Rashi is telling us that Lashon Hara doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's when a person is a chatterbox, is like a tzipor. He's always talking, always looking for something to schmooze about, always. So then it leads to Lashon Hara, and that leads to Rachmana litzlan tzaras. And the consequence of Metzorah, he has to leave the machna, he has to go chutz l'machna, because again, this idle chatter led to something else, and he has to be quarantined. Very striking. And as we have experienced a lengthy period of various types of quarantine over the past 12, 13 months, and perhaps as vaccines are starting to spread, perhaps we see a light at the end of the tunnel. Perhaps this period of quarantine starts to come to an end, but we have to always take stock in the experiences that we have. If Chazal understood leprosy, tzaras, this tumah, is not happenstance, is not coming for no reason. There is a certain midah keneged midah that we have to identify, we have to look at. Things, certainly dramatic things in the world. Tzaras, on a personal level, is very dramatic. On global scales, dramatic things require contemplation, require reflection, require what am I supposed to learn from this? When we have the parsha of quarantine, the Metzorah having to leave the machna, having to isolate from people. I've said in prior years that tzaras is a function. When we get tzaras, we have to isolate because we trespassed, we encroached, we went to places where we should not have been with our mouth, with our words, and that requires retreat. That requires isolation, reflection, stop and think. Similarly, but in contrast, tzaras habayis that we learn about. So there Chazal tell us that we need to prevent the whole house from becoming tamei. If the house might become tamei, so everything has to be taken out of the house, all the kelim. And tzaras habayis came from, Chazal tell us, not lending out our things, not giving our things to our neighbors. Our neighbor asks for a shovel, a lawnmower. Sorry, I don't have one. And now all of a sudden you get tzaras habayis for not being neighborly, for not having that sense of ben adam lechavero. And now you get exposed. Now all your things on the front lawn, oh, you do have a hammer, you do have a lawnmower, and you told me you didn't. So these two extreme tzaras haguf, is a function of trespassing, of going places with our speech that we shouldn't have been to, so therefore we have to retreat, we go into isolation, we have to be by ourselves, not trespassing, reflecting on what to learn from the trespass. And tzaras habayis comes from maybe my bias was too isolated. Maybe I wasn't sharing enough. Maybe I wasn't with my chaverim enough. Maybe I wasn't giving enough. And therefore, there's that sense of, okay, everything's now on the table. Everything's for everyone to see. That sense of exposure. Perhaps no coincidence that Tazriah Metzorah, these parshas always fall out this time of year. We're in the middle of Sfiras HaOmer. We just celebrated Yom HaAtzmaut. Yom HaZikaron, we commemorated Yom HaShoah. These are days which in Klal Yisrael unfortunately engender so much machlokas, so much differing opinions. And differing opinions are allowed. You can have machlokas. Every daf Gemara is replete with machlokas. But when the machlokas starts to slip into pitputim, chatter, and lashon hara, and ill will, and sinas chinam, then we've lost. Then we've been defeated. Then we're losing that sense of our camaraderie, our togetherness as Klal Yisrael. So, Tazriah Metzorah, these striking, important days where we have different views, but we can go ahead and have a sense of, yes, I can appreciate another position. I also have my position. I can stand strong about my position as well. This is all part of You learn a daf Gemara, you can have machloks, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to respect the other person's position, to have a sense of hakaras hatov, an appreciation of the drama that unfolds before our eyes. And these are unique times. Corona is a unique time, a time that demands, as we were in quarantine and hopefully we emerge from quarantine, to reflect on the lessons that we're supposed to take, how we treat our friends, how we treat our neighbors, how we give to them, and also how we do not, chas v'shalom, trespass and engage in ill kind of speech on pitputei dvarim, just stam chatter, which goes oftentimes in unhealthy directions. Have a wonderful Shabbos Kodesh.